Chapter 27, Susan. Friday was the one full day he had before the morning, and Ethan chose to spend it with his mother. It was not strategy. There was no nudge to plant, no grain to bank. The planning for Saturday was as done as a 7-year-old could make it, and the hours of Friday were, in the cold arithmetic of his mission, empty time. He could have spent them going over the route again, or listening inward, or any of the 100 careful things the second life had taught him to fill his hours with. Instead, he stayed close to Susan all day, underfoot in the kitchen, beside her on the couch, trailing her through the small, ordinary errands of a Friday, for no reason at all except that he wanted to, and that tomorrow he might lose the man whose loss had once destroyed her, and he could not bear to spend today anywhere but near her. She was so young. That was the thing he kept coming back to, watching her move through the gray Friday light. In his first life he had carried his mother as a worn and hollowed woman, the widow she became, and that woman had been made on a wet road in 1999, made out of this one, the bright, tired, humming young woman who touched the top of his head every time she passed, and did not yet know that the world had a knife in it with her name on the handle. Tomorrow he would try to take the knife away. Today he just wanted to be near her, while she was still whole. He let himself see her clearly, the way he had taught himself to see his father in the basement, not as a name on the ledger, not as a fate to be defended, but as a person, particular and alive. She sang while she worked, the same low, tuneless, happy songs he had forgotten for 37 years. She talked to herself, narrating her small tasks under her breath. She had a way of pausing at the window with a cup of coffee going cold in her hands, looking out at nothing, a private softness in her face, dreaming, he supposed, the small dreams of a young mother in a hard winter, of spring, of better work, of the children growing, of all the ordinary future she assumed she had. She had no idea the future was a thing that could be taken. She had never been taught that yet. The teaching was scheduled for tomorrow morning, on a wet road, and Ethan had spent his whole second life trying to make sure the lesson never came. He watched her dream at the window and felt his throat close, and went and leaned against her leg, just to be near, and she looked down and smiled and put her hand in his hair without a word. "You're my shadow today," she said, not minding. "Following me all over. What's gotten into you, Hema?" "I just like being with you," Ethan said, and it was true, completely true. The buried man and the living boy saying the same thing for once, and Susan laughed, surprised and pleased, and crouched down to his level and tucked a stray bit of hair behind his ear. "Well, I like being with you too, my serious boy," she said. "You know that. My serious, sweet boy. I don't know where you came from sometimes." She studied his face with a mother's fond puzzlement, the old half-noticed wrongness flickering for just a second behind her eyes before her love smoothed it away, as it always did. "But I'm glad you're mine." "I'm glad I'm yours too," Ethan said softly, and meant it across 2 lifetimes, and let her pull him into a hug there on the kitchen floor, and did not perform anything at all. He held the hug a moment longer than a child would, and she let him, and for that moment Ethan let himself simply be her son. Not the sentinel. Not the man with the map. Not the cold, careful planner counting down to a wet morning. Just a boy in his young mother's arms in a warm kitchen on a gray Friday, loved, and loving her back, with no strategy in it and no weight behind it. The one thing his whole second life almost never allowed him to be. He pressed his face into her shoulder, which smelled of coffee and soap and the particular warmth of her, and let himself have it, fully, because tomorrow he might be fighting for the right to keep it, and there might be no quiet kitchen moments for a long while after. Whatever it costs, he told her silently in the warm dark of her shoulder. Whatever I have to do tomorrow, whatever I have to spend, whatever rule I have to break or secret I have to risk. You are not going to be that woman. You are not going to stand at this window someday with the light gone out of you. Not again. Not while I'm here. She did not hear him. She only held her serious sweet boy a moment in the gray Friday light, humming, and then the moment ended the way moments do, and she stood and went back to her tasks, and the ordinary day rolled on around them both. That night the last quiet was beginning, but Ethan did not feel quiet. He felt still. The day with his mother had done something he had not entirely expected. He had thought vaguely that being so close to what he might lose would frighten him, soften him, make tomorrow harder to face. Instead, it had done the opposite. Watching Susan dream at the window, holding her on the kitchen floor, hearing her call him my serious sweet boy, it had taken his resolve, which was already total, and tempered it past the point of any possible breaking. He knew now, in his body and not just his cold, careful mind, exactly what was at stake. Not an abstraction. Not a name on a ledger. This woman, this warmth, this whole bright ordinary life that the first wet road had murdered in slow motion across 37 years. He was not going to let it happen. He had known that since the first night in the crib. But he had not, until this gray Friday in his mother's arms, felt it all the way down, and the feeling was not weakness. It was the hardest and surest thing in him. Ethan Cole lay in the dark on the last quiet night, his mother's voice still warm in his ears, and was not afraid anymore. There was only the morning ahead and the work it asked, and the absolute settled certainty, tempered now past all doubt, that he would pay any price the morning named. Tomorrow he would keep his father, or spend everything he had trying. He had made his peace with that long ago. Tonight, for once, he simply held the warmth of the day close and let it make him strong.